Today's Shiur was sponsored by an anonymous donor. She'imali Hashem kol mashalos libi l'teva. The Eibishter should fulfill all his heart's desires, and even more than that, l'teva. So, middle of Peter Klamed Beis, and we're based on that which Hillel said. The famous story where the prospective convert came to Hillel, and Hillel told him, if you want to know what the whole Torah is on one foot, that which is hated unto you, don't do to your fellow. This is the entirety of the whole Torah. The rest is only, he didn't say only, the rest is commentary, Zil Gemoyer, and go study. So the question we had last week was, how's it shaykh to say that the Torah, the whole Torah, is merely a commentary of the mitzvah of Avos Yisrael? So we explained that Avos Yisrael is the ultimate litmus test. But whether one is taka, the yisoid, the foundation of the whole Torah, is the superiority of the neshama. That the neshama should be the one that should be the ikar. That a person should identify with the neshama. Where does that come out to play? That comes to play dafka in Avos Yisrael. Because how is it possible to love every yid like you love yourself? Only if you're a person who approaches things from a neshama perspective, a neshama person. And sadly, that's we talked about now we're after the 9 days, and now we're already on the path towards the Geula. People don't realize how they, when they're frum on the cheshbon of Avos Yisrael, how much they're missing the point. One of a story maybe you're all familiar with, but it's a very telling story. I believe it's about Rabbi Yisrael Salanter. Yisrael Salanter, one who was in charge of the Musar, not in charge, the one who founded the Musar movement. So he was a guest in a home on Friday night, and obviously he was a famous person and a respected person. So when he came to the city and he was hosted by one of the wealthier people in the community. They come home Friday night, the meal, and the husband looks at the table and he notices that the challahs are uncovered. His wife had forgot to put the challah cover on the challah. So this man, in front of Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, he began to berate his wife. He began to scream at her. How can you forget to cover the challah? Especially when you have this great guest that's coming here. And the wife was, embarrassed. Quickly she runs, she gets the challah cover, she puts it on the challah. So Rabbi Yisrael, who has seen this whole encounter, he turns to this man and says, let me ask you a question. Why do we cover the challah? So I say, we learned this in Cheder, of course, because we don't want to embarrass the challah. Because the challah, if it sees that you're making kiddush beforehand, and normally we know that bread is the primary food, and we make a bracha on the bread before anything. It's the first bracha we make in a meal, even when there's wine. Shabbos is the exception because there's a mitzvah of kiddush, so therefore we make first the bracha on the wine, but we don't want to embarrass the challah, so we cover the challah. This is what the person says. So Rabbi Yisrael says, let me ask you a question. Can a challah be embarrassed? It's a loaf of bread. Can a challah be embarrassed? I says no. So what's the point of covering the challah? The point of covering the challah is to teach us a lesson of just how careful we have to be not to embarrass another person. And here, in order to cover the challah, you went and you embarrassed your wife. Talk about priorities. Talk about messed up priorities. I heard a story also this year, a tremendous story about Rabbi Steinman in Eretz Yisrael. That so he's 103, 104, something along those lines. And he lost his wife, I don't know, somewhere 10 years ago, 15 years ago. In other words, at a very advanced age. He was definitely in his 90s. First year after his wife passed away, so it came before Pesach. So he told his attendant, or Steinman told his attendant, I want you to get from me for Pesach all the water that I'm going to use on Pesach. I don't want to take any water from the faucet on Pesach. I want you to prepare barrels, kankanim, barrels, and because the halachic issues, so obviously it's a very, very big hidur, but this way, if there's any chance in it, if it's a grain of flour, it becomes bottled before Pesach. So the attendant tells the Rav, figures maybe the Rav is getting old and doesn't remember. He says, Rav, you don't do this hidur. You've never done this. I'm here for Pesach for many years, and you use water from the faucet every single year. So the Rav told him, I'm not growing senile. The truth is, this is a hidur that I always had as a bacher. And then I got married some 60 years ago, 70 years ago. And the first year before Pesach came, I asked my wife, I said, before Pesach, I told her that I have this hidur that I use only water which is collected before Pesach in jugs. And she forgot. She forgot about it. So comes the first day of Pesach, and I asked for a cup of whatever. I asked for a cup of water. Where's the water? And she pointed to the sink, and she realized right away that she had forgotten, and she felt so bad. And I saw this. I immediately told her, relax. It's nothing. It's a new hidur that I decided I wanted to do. It's mamish nothing. And he went to the sink and he took a cup of water and he drank it. You have nothing to worry about. It's mamish, no big deal. It was just this thing that I was thinking of, whatever. So that Pesach, I drank water from the faucet. Next year, came before Pesach, I thought to myself that if I tell my wife that I want the waters again, I want the water in the barrels, so she's going to realize the last year Taka wanted it, and she's going to feel bad again. So went 60, 70 years, and he drank water from the faucet all those years, but he never forgot that really what he wants is water from the barrels. The first year after his wife passed away, he said, I want you to collect the water for me. It's an amazing story in terms of someone having their priorities set straight, and how many times that we use, hidurim and chumras, and obviously we're not talking here about compromising in areas of halacha, but how often do we use Yiddishkeit and Torah to hurt another person or to embarrass another person? There's a Rabbi in Crown Heights who always says about the people who go to the matzah bakeries when they have their shifts, and you have the women who are rolling and they scream at them and they curse them, and he says, what's your whole matzah worth if it comes on the isser of almana leisanun, right, of not oppressing and not hurting another person? And this nekuda of zeu kol ha'torah kula v'idach pirusha. Now, where do we see a person who be'emes is a spiritual person, a person who's a godly person, a person who's a neshama life, is someone who is sensitive to another person's kavod, another person's dignity, as much as he or she is sensitive to their own. Because on the neshama level, we're all one, and just like we don't hurt another person, we don't hurt ourselves. So that's why Avos Yisrael is the entire Torah, because in Avos Yisrael is where you see whether the person got it. Does the person really get what it's all about or not? Where's the litmus test? That it would be in Avos Yisrael. Now, Dr. Rabbi is also going to add another idea, which is a little more al pi Kabbalah. And let's look inside. We're on page Mem Aleph, which is opposite of page 80. 6 lines from the bottom, where it says Vigam. Dr. Rabbi says that the Yisoid, beforehand, Dr. Rabbi said that the Yisoid v'shoyrish kol haTorah, the foundation and the root of the entire Torah, is to prioritize and elevate the neshama over the guf. That's number one. Vigam, and what's another major foundation of the Torah? Is lahamshich oir in soif baruch hu b'knesses Yisrael, is to draw down the infinite light of Hashem into Klal Yisrael. K'mash yizbar l'kaman, as we'll explain at length later on in chapters 35, 36, and 37. Dahainu, in other words, b'makir neshamas kol Yisrael, drawing down the Eir Ein Sof, the infinite light of Hashem, in the source of all the neshamas of Klal Yisrael. L'mihevi echad be'echad dafka, and this is only possible when we are echad be'echad, we are all at one with each other. V'loi kisheyesh pirut chas v'shalom, not when, God forbid, there is separation b'neshames, when there's separation amongst the neshames. The kuchabrichu le'sharia ba'asar pigim, because as Kabbalah tells us, the Eibishter does not dwell in a place that's fractured, in a place that's blemished. And as we say in davening, Barcheinu Avinu, we ask Hashem to bench us, but how is it possible for us to be a keli for the bracha from Hashem when it's kulanu ke'echad, when we are all like one? Then we can be zoiche to ba'ir panacha, to the oir of Hashem, the light of Hashem's panim, Hashem's pnimius. As is explained elsewhere at length. For whatever reason, there's this rule that kuchabrichu le'sharia basar pigim, that the Eibishter only dwells in a place which is a davar shalim, a place which is complete. And therefore, since Klal Yisrael, we are essentially one entity, our shleimus is when we are all at one with each other, and only then can we mamshech elikus. So that's another reason why zeu kol ha'torah kula. Because what is the purpose of every, in other words, that Hillel said that the whole Torah is Avos Yisrael. What is the purpose of the whole Torah? Every mitzvah, each one of the 613 mitzvahs is drawing down the light of Hashem. But that light of Hashem we can only draw down if we have Avos Yisrael. So yes, Avos Yisrael is Kol HaTorah Kula, because there's no mitzvah that isn't dependent on Avos Yisrael. Because to accomplish the goal of any mitzvah, which is the drawing down of the light of Hashem, that is dafka through when we're Avos Yisrael, we are all at one with each other. The Tzemach Tzedek in the Maimer Mitzvahs Avos Yisrael, the Tzemach Tzedek explains, he gives an interesting analogy. He says, we know that in the body there are 248 limbs, and those correspond to the 248 mitzvahs of the Torah. What is a limb? A limb draws down life from the neshama. A limb is alive. A limb is a keli. It's a receptacle for the chayis, the energy, the life force of the neshama. The 248 mitzvahs, every single one of them is a keli for us to draw down the life force from Hashem, the light of Hashem, the energy of Hashem. Why 248 mitzvahs? Why can't we have one mitzvah? We'll do one mitzvah all day long. I know that sounds very boring.
It's easier.
Well, so one way you say Hashem Pashadi wanted to make life flavorful for us, right? Yeah. But in a deeper, the Alter Rebbe talks in L'Kutei Torah. He says, "Ilun stavinu lachte reitzim." He says that if we had taka only one mitzvah, our mitzvah was that we wake up every morning. Hashem commands us to go out to the woods, to knock down, to chop down trees. So we would do that also b'simcha. But Baruch Hashem, we're lucky. We have more than one mitzvah. We have 248 mitzvahs, which is a whole kaleidoscope of mitzvahs. But why taka? Because just like in human relationships, so when a person loves another person, so the love expresses itself in different ways. Sometimes the love expresses through speaking words of love. Sometimes it expresses itself through an action, through a gift. It can be sometimes through a look of the eye. In other words, there are all different ways that love in a relationship expresses itself. So the same thing is in our relationship with Hashem, that His love for us expresses itself in many, many different ways. And those are the 248 different ways of the mitzvah. Every mitzvah is a different expression of Hashem's love. Every mitzvah is an expression of Hashem's love. But what causes Hashem to love us? Avos Yisrael. Because kamayim apanim lapanim. That we, in other words, everything that happens above is caused by is a reciprocation of our behavior below. When we have Avos Yisrael, then Hashem loves us, and He wants to be near us, and He wants to give us His love. And then the 248 mitzvahs are the vessels for that love which we create through our Avos Yisrael. So when we say Zeu Kol HaTorah Kula V'Idach Pirushu, the rest of the Torah is the commentary on Avos Yisrael. It means it very clearly, because the main thing is the love that Hashem loves. And then once that we have that, then every single mitzvah is a different way of drawing down that love upon us. So ultimately, it's all about Avos Yisrael. So Avos Yisrael is important for these two reasons. Again, to recap, not only it's important, why is it Kol HaTorah Kula in the words of Hillel? Because first of all, the objective of the entire Torah, our goal here in this world is to prioritize the neshama, to identify with the neshama, to be selfless and godly, and that expresses itself in Avos Yisrael. And reason number two is because the purpose of Torah is to draw down the light of Hashem here in this world, and that also is something which comes through Avos Yisrael, because either, as the Tzemach Tzedek explains, because that is what causes the love in the first place, or as Dr. Rebbe says over here, that Kuchabrichu Leishariya Basar Pegim, when we're fractured, we cannot be mamshech the oir of Hashem. And this is also the reason why the Arizal says, it's in the Siddur of the Nusach Hari, but this is something which is the Arizal said, and in fact the Rebbe encouraged that everyone should do this, even those who don't daven Nusach Hari, that before davening in the morning, the Arizal said that Nachem Loimar Koydem HaTfilah, it's proper to say before davening, Hareini Mikabel Mitzvah Saseh Shal V'Yahavta L'Reacha Kamecha, that I accept upon myself the mitzvah of Avos Yisrael. And again, the Rebbe asked, personally requested, he says that even those who don't daven Nusach Hari, before davening in the morning, before Matoivu, to say Hareini Mikabel Alai Mitzvah Saseh, I accept upon myself the positive commandment, the obligation, Shal V'Yahavta L'Reacha Kamecha.
It starts with the Arizal.
Yeah.
I saw it in many other Hasidic.
Yeah. It's not unique to Alter Rebbe said there. In fact, if you stick around,
right?
Yeah, if you stick around after davening, after Shiur, I'll show you in a sefer. They compiled in the back of one of the Sfarim of Amari Admur Azakin, a whole index of all the different Siddurim in which this appears. It's not something which is unique to. Again, it's from the Arizal. Well, now, what's the connection between Avos Yisrael and davening? Why before davening? If anything, you'd think that when should you say Hareini Mekabel after davening? Right? First I daven, and that's my davening is the first thing I do in the morning, is before I interact with everyone. And after I daven, before I'm about to go on the world, you say Hareini Mekabel Lai Mitzvah Saseh Shal V'Yahavta L'Reacha Kamecha. And if you can say that you interact with people before davening, okay. So then right in the morning when you wake up, say Moida Ani and say Hareini Mekabel, right? But we don't. It's before davening. Why is Hareini Mekabel, which is right before davening, why is that ha'achana? Why is that ha'achana for davening? So on a very simple level, it's brought down, let's explain, that when it comes to davening, we're asking the Eibishter to fulfill our wishes and our needs. What is the case? How do we get the Eibishter to do what we want? So we know there's a rule about that with parents, that if children are in harmony with each other, there's nothing that gives a parent a greater nachas than when the children are getting along with each other beautifully. So therefore, when we give this nachas to Eibishter and we say Hareini Mekabel Alai Mitzvah Saseh, so it's much more likely that Hashem will fulfill our requests. And in fact, we had, the Chazal talk about how in times of David HaMelech, so the people would go to war. David HaMelech soldiers were all tzaddikim. In general, in times of, in proper times, who went to war? Tzaddikim went to war, right? Because so when they went to war, the Kohen stood up and said, who is scared to go to battle because they did an avera? They go back. So that means, so what does that mean? That means who went to battle?
Good one.
The ones who didn't do any averas, right? It's so different. Today we think, the ones that go to battle are the bums. Right? Yeah. But back in the day, it was the opposite. Who went to battle? Adrab, the bums stayed back because they didn't want that their averas should negatively impact the situation on the battlefield. So who went to battle was the tzaddikim. It's interesting to picture, to mentally imagine that a bunch of tzaddikim, and they're the ones going to battle. And from that again, when David's soldiers went to battle, there were casualties.
How could that be?
They would die. So they wouldn't know.
Why should they die?
And then we find out that when Achav went to war, Achav, who was one of the greatest Rishonim, one of the biggest of Avodah Zarah, when he went to war, he suffered no casualties. Soldiers came back. So Chazal say, why is that? I don't remember whether it's a Gemara, it's a Medrash. Because in David's camp there were Dilturim, there were people who spoke Lashon Hara about one another. There wasn't that Achdus. And by Achav's soldiers, despite the fact there might have been Rishonim, but there was unity. There was no Dilturim. There was no people who spoke badly. In other words, the Gemara brings a raya because when I can remember the Gemara, the Medrash. Chazal say this, that when Eliyahu Navi stood up and said that I am the only Navi who was left alive by the Har HaKarmel showdown, now there were really another 1,000 Nevi'im who were alive, who Avadia had saved. 1,000 or 500?
400.
No, it was either, I think it was 500 or 1,000. But he saved hundreds of Nevi'im, either 500 or 1,000, and it was common knowledge. The king didn't know about it. And no one stood up and said, "Oh, yo, what are you talking about? There's another 500 or 1,000 Nevi'im that are alive," because no one talked about each other. And in that zchus, they went to battle and they didn't suffer casualties. Which shows the amazing power of Achdus Yisrael, that Kaviyachol, we have that we have the Eibishter as our captive. He has to do what we want because the incredible nachas he gets when we have Achdus Yisrael.
It also specifically shows about Lashon Hara.
It's definitely right. But you have to understand also, Lashon Hara at the end of the day, we mentioned this last time. Lashon Hara is a symptom. And yes, we have to be very careful about Lashon Hara. But ultimately, if I'm busy thinking bad things about other people, and I'm not saying anything, I get a lot of schar, and I'm haba for that. That's a wonderful thing that I'm not saying anything. But is that the tachlis hakavana? The pasuk says, "V'hafta l'reacha kamocha, l'sis nasachicha b'vavecha." It goes deeper. What we're really trying.
That is.
What?
In terms of not speaking Lashon Hara, that is the tachlis hakavana. Even though you hate somebody, that somebody.
But we said last week. We said, "V'hafta l'reacha kamocha zeh klal gadol b'Torah." What does it mean, zeh klal gadol? But you were here last week. Zeh klal gadol b'Torah. That means that there are many offshoots. Yes, definitely, it's important not to murder people, and it's important, to have a Shabbos Aveda. But all of these are rooted in Avos Yisrael. Ultimately, the Lashon Hara is a serious and grave breach of the mitzvah Hafta L'Reacha Kamocha and L'Sis Nasachicha B'Vavecha and L'Seilach Rachel B'Mecha. It's true, but L'Seilach Rachel B'Mecha is a prat. Yeah, it starts. The Alter Rebbe says, if you want to look later, some powerful words in Igeres HaKodesh. Turn to page 270. Nine lines from the top. The Rebbe says, Valkeinan, therefore, this is a letter that Alter Rebbe wrote to the Chassidim. Valkeinan, therefore, Ahuva Yedidai, my beloved, my friends, no v'no, please, Litroyach b'cholei v'nefesh, to toil with all your heart and soul, Litkoya avash re'eyu b'liboy, to establish the love for your fellow in your heart, Litkoya, like a nail, to knock it in with a hammer, knock it into your heart. The pasuk says a person should not think bad about his fellow. It shouldn't arise in one's heart. And if it does arise, you should push away such thoughts from his heart. Like you push away smoke. Thinking badly of your fellow in your mind should be equivalent to thinking about bowing down to a cross. That's what Alter Rebbe says. That should be equal. Key, why? Because Gedoyle Lashon Hara keneged Avodah Zarah Gili Yirayis Shfichas Damim. Lashon Hara is the equivalent of Avodah Zarah Gili Yirayis Shfichas Damim. Ve'im bedibur kach. And if speaking is so bad v'chulu, then how much more so is thinking? How bad is thinking? It is known to all who are wise, Yisrein Hechshar Machshava, how much greater thought is Al Hadibur, over speech, Heim L'Toiv V'Heim L'Mutav, both for the good and for the bad. Because thought is much more intimate. So here the Alter Rebbe is kind of like twisting it around. He says, if Lashon Hara is this bad, how much worse is it to think bad about another Yid?
Yeah, but you talk specifically of the this place I say and I say. Not you applying Lashon Hara to something else, but Lashon Hara for itself is there are tons of lavin, not many more lavin for Lashon Hara. It's 32 lavin for Lashon Hara, and there's maybe 1 or 2 lavin for this is nothing a little bit.
But that's constantly.
Yeah, but how can you confuse the cause with the symptom? Why shouldn't I speak Lashon Hara about a Yid? So there's 2 ways of looking at it. One is, now I'll speak Lashon Hara. Another one is because I love him. Which one is the greater? You tell me. Let me ask you a question. Would you, after class, maybe have some juicy, something not nice to tell me about your father? Why won't you tell me? Because, Lashon Hara, and I'll let us say Lashon Hara, or it wouldn't even occur to you to do something of that sort.
That may not be attainable to a regular person. It's very hard.
1 second. That's exactly what we're talking about over here. We're talking about the Naftali Silberberg seems unattainable. The Rebbe says, you know what, you're right, it is. If you're approaching it from a good standpoint. But if you're a neshama person, and that's the whole point over here, obviously, we're saying that Lashon Hara is a symptom of Avos Yisrael, or Sinas Yisrael. And Avos Yisrael is also a symptom of what? Of living a life which is a neshama-dika life. If every Yid is, if you're a neshama and others are neshama, the thought of Avos Yisrael doesn't occur, of Lashon Hara doesn't occur to you. Again, if we're not on that madriga, and you do have a bad thought about someone, definitely you shouldn't share it, and it's Lashon Hara, and that's terrible. I'm not trying to minimize Lashon Hara.
One of the practical sense that happens every day.
That's the biggest cop-out that there is in the world.
What do you say?
It's almost like everyone does it. And therefore?
If you don't speak about it, then you're okay.
Don't speak about what?
If you don't say Lashon Hara, it's fine.
No, it's not.
And eventually you can go away.
What do you mean? It's
Eventually,
fine?
If you don't speak Lashon Hara, then eventually you can change those feelings around. You can do something about it.
If you don't speak Lashon Hara, you have not done the lav Lashon Hara. 100%
You're not going
correct.
to get a lav if you don't dislike somebody. You can't get it.
What do you mean you're not going to get a lav? First of all, you're not mekayim mitzvah seiv haftarech kamecha. And second of all, we just saw the pasuk. The Rebbe quoted, Isha siras re'eu al tala lavavchem. What does that mean? You're saying that there is... I'm sorry, we can both agree on how bad Lashon Hara is, but if you're going to start telling me over here that it's enough just not to speak and there is no mitzvah of Avos Yisrael, where's that coming from?
No, that's not what I said. No, it's not. No, what I was saying is that the mitzvah Lashon Hara is something it's something on its own besides Avos Yisrael.
Okay. It's definitely a significant thing on its own. But I think what we pointed out last week, but I said this already 3 times, is there are most of the mitzvahs in the Torah. When Hillel said, V'idach pirushahu, and Rashi said, why? Because most of the mitzvahs are pirush of Avos Yisrael. Did Hillel have in mind Lashon Hara also? So yeah, those mitzvahs are all important on their own, but to a certain extent, there are pirush on the mitzvah of Avos Yisrael. I think we're in agreement with each other. I think it's a little semantics that we're disagreeing over. But now we understand, go back to the idea of that you can't separate between Avodas Hashem and Avos Yisrael. It's not 2 different spheres. When we're davening, what do we want? We want to be Mamshech Hashem onto us, right? We want to draw down, and to do that, we need to have Avos Yisrael. And I connect with all the Klal Yisrael, then I am a Davar Shalem, then I am complete, and then I can approach Hashem. Until then, I'm incomplete. In the Beis HaMikdash, you have all these halachas about the carbon that we bring to Hashem has to be complete. It can't have a mum. Well, by davening, I am the carbon. We're the carbon. Am I complete? If I have Sinas Yisrael, then I'm not complete. Because on a neshama level, I'm one with all of Klal Yisrael, and if I cut off a piece from myself, I'm not complete. So if I want to approach Hashem, I need to have Avos Yisrael. If I want Hashem's brachas, I need to have Avos Yisrael. So, in other words, in a smaller sense, we said earlier, the reason why we say Harini Mekabel is why is because that we want the Eibishter to be mamal to fulfill our bakashas, our requests. But that, in that way, it's like a ploy. Hashem, I want you. It's like I want to ask something of my father, so I do my brother a favor. I go tell my father, I did my brother a favor. He's so proud of you. And then, by the way, there's something that I want also. It's somewhat of a ploy. So already mikabel mitzvah say, Hashem is happy, good. Now, please, I need money. I need parnasa. I need this, right? But in a deeper sense, it's connected to the idea of davening itself. In that, again, if I want to approach Hashem and daven, I have to be complete. And if I don't have Avos Yisrael, I'm not complete. And that's why we say Harini Mekabel before daven. As mentioned last week, the wording of Hillel, Mada Allah Sani Lechavrach Lisavid, is somewhat strange. If Hillel wanted to transmit to the Geir the notion of Avos Yisrael, then and he wanted, I guess he wanted to do it in Aramaic, so that the guy, he should have said, like Targum Unkel says on the pasuk. I think it's Serachim lechavrach kivasach, if I remember correctly. Love your fellow as you love yourself. Don't do unto your fellow that which you don't want done to yourself. Number one, it doesn't say anything about love over here. It seems very technical. But it's not only it doesn't say about love, it's not even telling you to do anything. It's telling you what not to do. Two different issues. Number one, he didn't say anything about ahava, about love. Userachim, v'ahavta. And number two, theoretically, if I sit at home and in bed all day, then I have done what Hillel wants. Because I have not done to my family. Actually, I don't know, maybe I'm doing to my wife something that she doesn't want to my mishpacha. But it doesn't require anything active. It's just telling you what not to do. Yes?
And number three, if I add to it, how is that an expression of raising the soul way, way above the body? Maybe we're going to say that already. But
no, I didn't. And number three, how is that? How is embedded in these words? Don't do unto your neighbor that which you don't want done to yourself. How do we have embedded in there the Avos Yisrael and all this incredible ideas we have over here about having a neshamadika life, which expresses itself in Naftali Silberberg, love your fellow as yourself. So the Tzemach Tzedek, the grandson of the Alter Rebbe, he explains a very beautiful idea, which is brings out how the depth which was within the statement of Hillel, and how it brings out in a very practical way the idea, the depth of the idea of Avos Yisrael.
who brings it out?
The Tzemach Tzedek in the Derech Mitzvah Yisachar. So Tzedek points out something interesting about human nature. One of the things that bothers us, perhaps more than anything else, is when our character flaws or mistakes that we have made are exposed to others. I might be a person who's a selfish person, a lazy person, I have an anger management issue, an ego issue. I know all of these to be true. But if someone else finds out about it, I get very upset. I made a mistake, I did something wrong. Okay. But if someone else finds out about it, it's very, very painful. Why? It's true. Why should it bother me if someone else knows the truth about me? I want to live a lie? I know about it. Doesn't bother me. Or maybe it does bother me, but not nearly to the extent that it bothers me when someone else becomes aware of my shortcomings. Why is that? Sorry, yes.
Because you forgive yourself for that sin, and you think that someone else knows about that they'll judge you for it. They'll always remember it, and they'll always use that to be better than you, or to judge you, or to... That's why...
You forgive yourself.
You forgive yourself.
Really? You forgive yourself?
Well, let's say you did tshuva.
So then tell the other person, I did tshuva.
Yeah, they don't...
They're only going to believe the bad, not the good.
Yeah.
There are multiple reasons why it bothers us so much if other people find out. Let's go through a few of them. Number one is that when we do something wrong, we tend to justify it. A lot of justifications go on. Excuses, reasons why it wasn't so bad, extenuating circumstances, and other people tend to give us less slack. They justify us less, whether maybe they have a more accurate view of the situation, or maybe we have a more accurate view of the situation. Whichever way you want to look at it, at the end of the day, what you said is correct. We do forgive ourselves. Why?
Justify.
Because we make justifications. So I screamed at this person. Yeah, but he deserved it because right? So I slept and didn't go to shul, but it's justified because we come up with reasons why it's nicht gefahrlich that which we have done.
So why does it bother?
But but that same thing, if another person finds out, the other person doesn't cover it up. The other person looks at it as something bad. Again, correctly or incorrectly. At the end of the day, we justify ourselves. That's number one. Number two, we have a larger picture of ourselves. Other people, when they find out, especially, actually, and this is true, the less the person knows you well, the more distant the person may be from you, they tend to judge you and define you based on that one flaw. And if that's the case, that's pretty bad. You're defined by that. You, on the other hand, you have a much more holistic and complete picture of yourself, and you can contrast your flaw, your character issue, or your mistake. You can contrast it to the many wonderful good things that you do, and your many wonderful strengths and your wonderful character traits. So therefore, it bothers you less. You don't define yourself by it, whereas as opposed to the other person who does define you by it. That's another reason. But there's another nakuda. There's another point. As we mentioned last time, my love for myself is unconditional. The pasuk says, I believe it's in Eiv, Al kol peshoyim techasa ahava. We manage to cover up our sins with self-love. Meaning, we're aware of our sins. We're aware of our mistakes. We're aware of our flaws. Not only that, we're aware of them much more than anyone else is aware of them. No one knows your flaws like you know your own flaws. But they don't impact your unconditional, absolute love for yourself. And therefore, to a certain extent, when you do an Aveira, tichasa, the Ava's tichasa, the Ava covers it up. When the other person finds out about it, then your mistake is exposed because it's not covered by that love. And suddenly, wow, that's bad stuff. Your own knowledge of yourself, you never go, oh, that's bad stuff. Why? Because there's that layer of self-love that covers it. And the other person doesn't have that layer of self-love.
Or
The
other person love.
Doesn't have that love for you, yeah. Right? So therefore, says that Tzemach Tzedek, when someone else finds out about your mistake, it's being exposed. My knowledge of it doesn't expose it. It remains, even though I know about it, it remains covered. It's concealed by that love. And that exposure is so painful. As long as I have my knowledge of it, as long as it remains covered by the self-love, it's manageable. But when my flaw, when my mistake becomes uncovered and exposed, that is beyond painful. Came along Hillel and told the Geir, listen to this, Madalach Sani, that which you hate. What do you hate? The exposure of your flaws and mistakes. Lechavrach le'savid. Never ever do that to your fellow. When you become aware of your friend's flaw, don't expose it. What does it mean, don't expose it?
Don't look down on it?
No. Just like you cover your own sins with self-love, cover his sin with love also. Don't allow it to be exposed. Let's go through the different things we said.
So then that is
Just like when you do something wrong, you justify it. Justify what your friend did wrong. Just like you see the larger picture when you do something wrong, see the larger picture when your friend does something wrong. And most importantly, just like when you do something wrong, it remains covered by love, meaning it makes no difference. The unconditional love is there. When your friend does something wrong, the unconditional love to your friend has to remain. And if the unconditional love is there, then the Aveira remains covered. And with this, we understand that Hillel was imparting a mind-blowing, what does it mean? I think someone asked me last week, maybe not, what does real Ahavas Yisrael look like? This is what real Ahavas Yisrael looks like. That the unconditional love is not impacted by a mistake the person had made or by a character flaw of the other person. And that unconditional love covers over the mistakes.
You still got to give it to a chacham, though.
Talk about that in a second.
How that interplays with
You're our Musar representative over here.
me?
Yeah, it's good.
No, how's that interplay? This is the
You're always making sure that
you had to cover.
there's a chiyuv techacha, but
Yeah. So how's that interplay when you're covering up someone's flaws?
we'll get there in a second.
Means you're not acknowledging.
No, covering up doesn't mean not acknowledging. Covering means that
Don't look down on him.
that it doesn't impact your estimation of the person, and your love of your unconditional love remains. And by the way, the closer you are emotionally, we see this also to another person. Your best friend is the one who you're free to say almost anything about yourself. And why is that? Because again, you're telling him is not exposing it. When you feel that you're unconditionally loved by someone, you can be open with that person.
All your flaws. Yeah.
Be open with that person. And that's the true Ahavas Yisrael. That just like I unconditionally love myself, I unconditionally love everyone else. And therefore I justify, and therefore I see the whole picture, and most importantly, it doesn't impact my relationship with the person. And one of the most what?
According to the Alter Rebbe, there's almost, later we're going to learn, technically, as far as Allah is concerned, there's almost never a time where in practicality you're going to have.
We're going to get there next week. Yeah. Next week in Mitzvah Shem we'll finish the period. No, but I want to talk about Teichacha.
Nothing bring about
There's a sikha from the Rabbi. A sikha from the Rabbi, which from the very first time I learned it, it blew me away. It was, and I wouldn't be surprised if I've shared this before, because it's something, one of your favorite ideas, but it's something that can be shared again. It says by Noach that after the Mabul, so Noach became drunk. No, that's light. And he went into and he got naked. Became naked in his tent. Vayiskal b'toich ahalei. He was exposed in his tent. What happened? The pasuk says, Vayar Cham, and Cham saw Eis Ervas Aviv. He saw the nakedness of his father, and he went and he told his two brothers who were outside, Interesting, the pasuk doesn't say what he did wrong. Rashi brings down, yes, I remember this, yes, I remember that. Some say he had relations with him, and some say that he castrated him. But if you look in the pasuk doesn't say anything. The pasuk says, Vayar Cham, that Cham saw his father's nakedness, right? And he goes and he tells his two brothers. So it says, the pasuk says, Vayichu Shem Vayefes Esasim La. Shem Vayefes, they took a garment. And they entered the tent. Vayilchu Achiranis, they went backwards. And the pasuk says, Upneam Achiranis, and their faces were backwards. Ve'erva Savim Leiro, they didn't see the father's nakedness. And they covered their father. So the Rebbe asks, we have over here a redundancy in the pasuk. It says Upneim Achiranis, it says their faces were backwards. Ve'erva Savim Leiro, and they didn't see their father's nakedness. Well, if they're not facing it, then obviously they weren't mothers. They didn't have eyes behind in the back of their heads, right? So how would they see it if their faces were backwards? What?
Double lashon.
So Rashi says that whatever, he gives a little answer in Pshuli Shol Mikra, but it's a glaring question.
Maybe it's explain is how they didn't see it. The reason they didn't. The face are backwards, and since they're basically.
Shivim Panim Latera. This it's fine to give an answer. There could be other answers also. So to answer this question, the Rebbe points to a statement of a principle laid down by the Baal Shem Tov. Baal Shem Tov says that when we look at another person, it's like we're looking at a mirror. And if we see a flaw in another person, then that means that we have that flaw within ourselves. So if I see something wrong in another person, that means I have to fix something within myself. And that is what I see in the other person is what I have to fix in myself. What's the raya? How do I know the other person's on a mirror? Maybe the other person has some terrible character flaw and I don't have it and I just happen to see it. Maybe he did enough and I happen to see it. Why is me seeing something else wrong about another person? Why is that indicative about something within me? So that Torah of the Baal Shem Tov is predicated on, it's a symptom of another Torah of the Baal Shem Tov. What's the other Torah of the Baal Shem Tov? The Baal Shem Tov says the idea of Hashgacha Pratis, that every single thing that happens is Hashgacha Pratis. So the fact that I saw something wrong in someone else, that's Hashgacha Pratis. Hashem is showing it to me for a reason. Otherwise, I wouldn't be aware of it. That awareness also is Hashgacha Pratis. So why is Hashem showing me this? Why would Hashem show me a flaw in another person? That's not nice. The Gemara says that when an Achan, when he stole from Yerichai, and talking about Lashon Hara, and Yeshua wanted to know who did it. Hashem says, I'm not telling you, I'm not about Lashon Hara. I'm not going to tell you who did it. You want to find out, go throw a girl, do a girl. So if Hashem wouldn't want to tell Yeshua Bar Achan's Avera, why would Hashem show me another person's character flaw? That's not nice. And everything is precise and everything is exact. So it must be that if Hashem is showing it to me, that there's a reason. And what's the reason? It's because I have the flaw. Otherwise Hashem wouldn't have shown it to me.
Not the same flaw, different flaw.
No, the same.
That is similar.
It could be in a much more subtle way.
Maybe if the guy did it, something that's like a riot, something.
So if someone kills someone, so you have to look at yourself and say, and you saw it, so we know that someone who's malben pnei chaverei is shreifech damim, so that you're finding something similar within yourself. Yeah, it can be in a much more edel way, obviously. It's not the exact same, but the same character flaw, the same idea, the same issue, you can find yourself perhaps in a more subtle way. Sounds nice, but the Rebbe is not happy with this. And the Rebbe says, one second. Of course it's a Hashgacha Pratis that I'm seeing the person. But maybe the reason why I'm seeing the person is so I can help him. Maybe the reason why that Hashem gave me the opportunity so that I could do the mitzvah of of rebuking my fellow and trying to help him out. Maybe that's the reason. Hashem wanted to give me a mitzvah. What's the hechrech? Why am I compelled to say that the reason why I'm seeing this is because there's a flaw in me? Maybe that the Hashgacha Pratis is that Hashem made on purpose. He worked everything out that I should see it, so I should be able to have the mitzvah so that I should gain a mitzvah, and that person should gain by being helped by me. So So the Rebbe says like this: if the reason why I'm seeing it is to help him, is to do the mitzvah v'cheich techiach, then that's all I would see. All I would see is an opportunity for a mitzvah. I wouldn't see anything bad in the person. I wouldn't be making judgments about the person. If I see bad in the person, that's a reflection on me. Because,
So good.
for example, imagine a person's walking along the pier, the shore, right? And he sees someone's drowning. So what's his first reaction?
Scream and go jumping.
Go jump in, try to save him, 911. Imagine the person, what an idiot. Why was he swimming in the water? There is no lifeguard. No. You don't start judging the person. What you see before you is an opportunity. All you see is there is something that needs to be done. I have to go fix it. That's all. If when you see a person doing an Avera, the only thing that registers by you is, I have to help this person. There is no judging, there's no condescending, there is no hatred, there's nothing. Then there's no indication that you have that flaw. But if you look at the other person and you see, he's schmutzig, he's dirty, that's a mirror. That means you're also dirty. And with this, the Rebbe explains. Vayar Cham. What was the problem? Vayar Cham as Ervasavim. Cham saw his father's nakedness. Nakedness is also a metaphor. He saw his father naked, metaphorically. Look, disgusting, horrible, terrible. He went and told his two brothers. And what happens? The brothers went to Pnei Machiranis. They weren't looking physically. And more importantly, Ves Ervas Aviem Leiro, they did not see their father's nakedness. They didn't look down at their father. They didn't judge their father. They didn't say, he's a drunk. Look at that, that's disgusting. The only thing that registered by them was, our father right now is naked in the tent. He has to be covered. We are going to go cover him. It's a mind-blowing idea in terms of our approach when we see someone else doing something wrong. If our approach is only, I have to help that person, I love that person, I have to help that person, then you're fine, you're good. If you see the flaw and you start considering it and you make the flaw important and big, that means you have it within yourself.
What's like a good, because it's very fine. I mean, if you're helping someone, that means that there's something missing or limited. I mean, otherwise there'd be no help required. So, but yet it's somewhat distinct from.
I love the person. It's not a judgment of the person. There is right now something about the person that needs help and fixing, and my only thought is I have to help that person. I don't see the dirt on the person. It's not registering. It's not a judgment on the person.
I guess you're seeing what's possible, not what's wrong.
All you're seeing is something that has to be fixed. As such, my help is needed here. It's not that you're thinking about the person. Hey, how could the person do that? But all those thoughts. It's all unnecessary. So you asked before, do you have the mitzvah v'cheich techiach? Of course you have the mitzvah v'cheich techiach.
They have to do with love.
Well, that the pasuk says already, right? It's not only it has to be with love. It has to be about the deed, not about the person. The person I love, I care for. I'm not looking down at the person. I'm not disgusted by the person. The Heich Techiach is there's something the person did. That when you do something wrong yourself, you view it as a challenge. I have to overcome that. I love myself. I care about myself, and now I have to take care of this issue. With your friend, it has to be the same thing. I love my friend. I care for my friend. And if there's an issue, let me help him resolve it. And that's what Hillel was saying. That which you hate the most, when your ugliness is exposed, never do that to your friend. Never expose your friend's ugliness. Always your friend's ugliness has to be covered with that layer of Ahavas Yisrael. Now, We have 2 minutes left to the Shiur, just a vart. And we'll do the second half of the class next week. The pasuk about Avos Yisrael is interesting. The pasuk says, "Leisikaim v'leisitar b'vnei amecha, v'yahavta l'riacha kamecha." A pasuk in Kedoshim, which means don't do nekama, don't take revenge, don't harbor a grudge against your fellow. V'yahavta l'riacha kamecha. Oh, why are these put together? These, as mentioned earlier, there are hundreds and hundreds of mitzvahs that are offshoots from Avos Yisrael. So yes, lisikam v'leisitar, not doing revenge and not harboring a grudge, are also offshoots of Avos Yisrael. But why were those two mitzvahs selected to be paired with the pasuk of After Yachakamecha? So perhaps a pshat is like this. Humankind, relative to every individual, is divided into 3 groups of people. You could call them the positive, the neutral, and negative. Meaning, the positive, they're the people who I'm on good terms with them, they've done nice things for me, they've done favors for me. My family, the people who I'm good with, I have positive feelings towards them. And there's the neutral. The neutral is the mitzvahs. Most people in the world, I have nothing against them, I have nothing for them, I barely know them. And then there's the category of people, the negative. The people who have wronged us, the people who rub us wrong, people who have done things to us, who have hurt us in different ways. Avos Yisrael, for group number 1, is not so difficult. Avos Yisrael, for group number 2, the neutral, also. You see a person on the street, a Yid, you don't know the person. Old Yid, you help him with the bag, it's a natural. Where do we have our greatest difficulty in having Avos Yisrael is in group number 3. There are only 2 mitzvahs in the Torah which are devoted specifically and only to group number 3. Leisikaim v'leisitar. All the other mitzvahs, Hashavas Aveda, who does that apply to? All 3 groups, right? All the other mitzvahs, leisignayiv and helping your donkey and all those things, not giving ribbis, apply to everyone. What are the mitzvahs that apply only to the people who have harmed you? There's leisikam v'leisitar. Leisikam v'leisitar b'vnei amecha v'yahavta l'reacha kamecha. You want to know if your Avos Yisrael is complete? If leisikam v'leisitar, if your Avos Yisrael extends even to those Yidden who Pashut have hurt you, have done wrong to you, but still you have a haftaliacha kamoicha, like yourself. Your love is unconditional. How do you know your love is kamoicha, which means unconditional? If leisikaim v'leisitar, then you know that taka, the love is unconditional, because if it was conditional love, you wouldn't be able to do those mitzvahs. So in a way, those 2 mitzvahs are the ultimate expression of the kamoicha, of the unconditional love demanded from Avos Yisrael. To be continued, Mirta Hashem, next week.